What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto used his charm to unite every village through love instead of war? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Naruto stood atop the Hokage monument facing the village. It was very late at night, and the weather was a little colder, due to it being the winter time. There was a light blanket of snow over the village, and the snow continued to fall over Konohagakure. There was a lot on the mind of the young shinobi this night. A lot that really bothered him. Down to the very core. He was really debating on whether or not to leave his home village. But what was his motivation for debating this life-changing decision? This had been his home all of his life. But what was a home? For most, they would say that a home is a place to feel safe, to come to at the end of a hard day and spend time with their families. Others would say that home is where the heart is. Naruto did not feel this for Konoha at all. In fact, he could honestly admit to himself that the main reason why he had stayed and protected the leaf was from a sense of duty. Drilled into his head as a child by the third Hokage, then by Iruka, then by Kakashi and Jiraiya afterwards. What was this ideal that was drilled not only into his head, but all of the other shinobi and kunoichi of the village? The will of fire. The willingness and obligation for the ninja of the village to protect and, if necessary, to lay down their lives for the greater good of the village. For their home. Now, everything he had known was in question. Everyone he knew was either dead or gone from his life in some way. After the war had ended, Sasuke was executed for his crimes against not only the Leaf, but also against multiple other nations. He was a global criminal, to say the least, that committed numerous crimes throughout all of the nations. However, due to his help in the war, and aside from Naruto, playing a crucial role in the defeat of Kaguya, he was given 3 days to reunite with his friends and enjoy life. That was his reward for his help in the war, but that did not erase all of the crimes, did not bring all the people he had killed back to life. Also, because of his help, instead of having a public execution like a lowly criminal, he was to be put to sleep with a poison that worked quickly, and was fortunately painless. Sasuke had asked Naruto to be there at his side at his execution. Minutes before he received the poison, he received something he never expected. Flashback. 2 years ago, minutes before the execution. Naruto, Sasuke called out. Naruto, with tears in his eyes, looked up at his friend with a teary smile. Yeah, Sasuke? Thanks. Dobi, the Uchiha said with a smile. Before this is all over, I want to give you something. He reached over to the counter and pulled out a small jar with some liquid in it, and Naruto saw something he didn't expect at all. An eyeball with the Rinnegan pattern. This is my Rinnegan eye, Sasuke said. I had it removed the other day with Tsunade replacing said eye. This is my greatest accomplishment as a shinobi, and I want you to have it. I already have talked to Tsunade about it, and you are to have this put in your head in 3 days' time. In order to activate the Rinnegan, all you have to is channel chakra to it. If you don't, it will look like a normal eye. Please, carry out my legacy. This is my gift to you, it's all I have left. Naruto reached out and grabbed the container with his best friend's eye in it and said, Thank you, Teme. But, are you sure about this? I couldn't be more positive, Dobi, Sasuke confirmed. If you did not exist, I wouldn't be giving this to anyone else. You are the only I trust with this. You are the only one who never gave up on me. You are the one who saved me from my own darkness. Although, I am about to pay for it all, I am paying for it this way because of your help. I thank you, my friend. Naruto and Sasuke gave each other a quick hug. Sasuke patted Naruto on his back a couple of times and said to him one last time, Thank you Naruto, for everything. Take care of Sakura for me. Sasuke then turned and looked at the 2 doctors that were there with them. He walked over to the table and laid down. The doctors took out 2 small vials, one had a green liquid, the other a yellow liquid. One doctor put both contents into a single, larger vial and shook it up nice and hard. After about a minute or so, the liquid had turned a dark red color. By themselves, each vial was virtually harmless. However, when mixed together, the chemical reaction not only changed its color completely, it also made for the most effective and painless poison known to the elemental nations. The doctor who had the vial held it to the other doctor, who had a syringe in his hand. He penetrated the top of the vial and extracted most of the poison. The other doctor threw the other useless vial in the garbage and then rolled up Sasuke's sleeve and prepped his arm. The whole process was incredibly difficult for Naruto to watch. After all of his efforts, his friend was about to die, and there wasn't a damn thing he could do about it. See on the other side, Dobi, Sasuke told his friend with a smile. Naruto forced a smile and said, "Yeah, see y'all later Teme. Thanks for coming back to us." Sasuke shook his head a little and said, "No, thank you for bringing me back. I'll be watching over you." That was when the doctor injected the most lethal poison in the world into his arm. After about 30 seconds or so, Sasuke began to be very sleepy. Sasuke groggily held up 2 fingers and poked Naruto in the forehead lightly and said, "Later Dobi." With that, his eyes closed, fell on the bed. Sasuke Uchiha was dead. Naruto cried right on the spot for at least a good 10 minutes. The 2 doctors honestly felt incredibly sorry for him, but there was nothing that they could do for either one of them. They simply packed up what little gear they had and left to give the blonde shinobi some space. Present, however, it was Sakura's reaction to everything that had really hurt him just as much as Sasuke's death, if not more so. Flashback. Naruto was walking out of the hospital, and found that Sakura was on the bench, face in her hands, and judging by the wetness on the cement around her feet, she had been crying for some time. Sakura had known what was going to happen the whole time, but it was still very hard for her to come to grips with it. "Sakura," Naruto began, but then was shocked at what happened next. Sakura looked up immediately at him, her eyes all puffy and red from crying so hard and so long. She grit her teeth and then charged at him and punched him in the face incredibly hard. Naruto flew back into the wall of the hospital. He spit up blood and looked up just in time to dodge another plummeting fist of the pink-haired woman. She grabbed his shirt and yelled out at him, It's all your fault?" Sakura cried and growled at him. "What are you talking about, Sakura?" Naruto asked his teammate. "You could have saved him. You should have kept your promise to me." She yelled at him. "What are you talk? You can't even keep a single fucking promise, Naruto. Why do you even exist? No one had ever fucking liked you, Naruto. We only tolerated you because we needed you. You, useless, fucking, demon. Of course demons won't keep their promises, they're fucking demons. You wanted Sasuke dead, didn't you? What are you talking about, Sakura?" Naruto stammered out. He couldn't believe that one of the most important people in his life was saying things like this to him. You, wartless, disgusting, demonic, little pig. You wanted Sasuke dead so that you could have him, didn't you? Get rid of the competition. Well, guess what, Naruto, part of that's ACCCOMPLISHED. My Sasuke-kun is dead because of you. I wish the 9 tails killed you when you were a baby. In face, I wish that your mother died with the rest of the damned Uzumaki clan. It was Konoha that willingly ignored their plea for help anyway. That last bit of information caught him off guard. What did you just say, Sakura? AAWWWW? Whittle baby NAWUTO didn't know about his Whittle FAMIWY? Yes, you little shit. The Uzumaki clan was too dangerous for anyone, so when the Uzumaki clan sent pleas for help to Konoha, Konoha was in on the invasion with the other villages, and DELIBERATLEY did not arrive in time. The files are in the Hokage's archives. I've seen them. I wish you RMOTHER was dead before you were born. That way my Sasuke-kun, someone WHO is worthy of me, would still be here. Sakura picked him up off of the ground and threw him across the hospital grounds and yelled at him one final time before storming off. You pathetic little piece of shit, don't you ever talk to me ever again. With that said, she stormed off, leaving a shocked and completely heartbroken Naruto behind. Present, Naruto remembered that like it was only moments ago. The woman he had a crush on for a good chunk of his life had literally broken his heart, even after he had basically sacrificed his spot with her for Sasuke. Didn't she remember the promise he made to her, and that he eventually delivered on it? Didn't she remember all of the times that he had saved her from certain death? So many questions still rang through his head regarding that final incident between them, but he still never understood why she really did that. He was still dealing with that heartache. Also, what contributed to his overall demeanor was the fact that, unfortunately, Sakura was not lying when it came to the cause of Uzushiyogakure's destruction and Konoha's role in it. Flashback. In the Hokage's office, day after the Sasuke's death. Naruto really didn't want to believe it, but something inside of him was really nagging at his conscience. Something wasn't right. Everything that Sakura said was pretty much the opposite of what he was told before, at least Konoha's role in it, that they were unable to make it in time due to it being so far away. Was that a lie? The Hokage's archives would reveal the truth once and for all. Thank goodness he had all but mastered the use of the shadow clone technique. It was really helping out in this case. A Kage Bunshin was actually within the archives at the moment, while the original was in his apartment meditating. The shadow clone had used the henge technique and transformed into a mouse to get into the archives, and then had transformed into its original clone self once it was inside. It looked around and had seen walls and walls with scrolls rolled up and filling up every nook and cranny of the walls. It was a reel of endless knowledge. It took a while, but eventually, the clone was indeed able to find a scroll pertaining to the end of the land of Whirlpool. The clone read the part that it was looking for. This is the private scroll of Hiruzen Sarutobi, 3rd Hokage of Konohagakure. As everyone knows, being Hokage is an incredibly difficult job. However, not everyone understands the level of difficulty it comes with. Sometimes, one is presented with two choices, and both are evil and dangerous, and one must pick the lesser of the two evils. The Uzumaki clan in the land of Whirlpool is a force to be reckoned with, that is for sure. I was contacted a few days ago not only by the Raikage, but also the Tsuchikage, Mizukage, and 4 other cages of 4 different smaller villages. Each and every one of them offered me a choice of 2 options. First, to aid them in the destruction of Uzushiogakure, in fear of their power being too great for anyone to control, or second, ignore any pleas for help we may or may not receive from said village. If I were to refuse either one of these options, they would all attack Konoha next. Konoha is the strongest of all of the villages, that is common knowledge. However, even an elephant can be taken down by a pack of wolves. Konoha would not stand a chance against 7 different ninja villages. In order to protect the people of my village, I had to make one of the most difficult choices I have ever had to make. I chose to ignore the cries for help from our allies. I however did send out a few platoons of my own ninja to aid them, but purposefully 2 days late, too late for them to reach Uzu in time. At least I can wipe away some of the stain of dishonor from the name of Konoha, but, as I said, in order to protect my people, others must die. I am truly sorry for this act, but it must be done. Uzumaki clan members, please forgive me. Hiruzen Sarutobi, 3rd Hokage of Konohagakure. The clone, teary-eyed, made a copy of the scroll, put the copy back in the spot in the wall, then took it with him back to the original. Present. That was one of the hardest things Naruto had had to deal with, knowing that his home village was indirectly responsible for his entire family's destruction. Why was he so angry about it? There's always another way. The Sandaime had taken the coward's way out. Didn't even try to find something else to do, some other way to protect both of the villages. Because of that, Naruto had next to no family left whatsoever. That was hard to deal with. He remembered that 3 days after Sasuke's execution, he had been called to the hospital by an Anbu, and Tsunade had indeed installed Sasuke's Rinnegan eye into him. He spent the next couple of years practicing with it, getting as best as he could with his newfound abilities. It took a while, but he was finally successful. He was just as good as Sasuke was with his Rinnegan, if not better. However, that didn't mean that life got better for him. Ever since the execution of his best friend, the heartbreak from his childhood crush and teammate, and lastly the knowledge that the Leaf had in fact betrayed his real home village, left him with an empty, hole-filled heart. Voids were ever present within him that just couldn't seem to be filled. He eventually began to pull away from everyone and everything, only doing missions and the like in order to survive. However, every time he went out for a mission, he pushed himself further and further, almost as if he were trying to get himself killed. Everything regarding him had changed. His demeanor, his personality, and his clothing, everything about the blonde idiot had changed. His hair was medium length, and still spiky, like it was in Shippuden. He wore a black, sleeveless shirt that zipped up in the front. Over that, he had a light armored chest plate that was a dark silver in color. He wore a dark blue sash over his waist, and baggy black pants. He wore dark silver greaves with dark silver armored knee pads. His arms were bare, but from the elbows down he wore dark silver gauntlets. He wore black fingerless gloves that had metal plates on the top of his hands. He wore a black mask that covered the lower half of his face, and had a lengthy katana strapped on his back. Over everything, he wore a black cloak with a hood over his head, slightly concealing his face. The wind blew in the cool, night air, his cloak flapping in the air. On top of everything else that had transpired, the village, for the most part, had gone back to their old ways when it came to him. No longer did they try to actually hurt him. No, they weren't that stupid. Attack the one who helped defeat Kaguya? Yeah, no. Instead, they just went back to glaring at him and talking about him behind his back. Due to all of this, it only further drove him to retreat from everyone and become a loner once again. He turned away from the village, finished with his last look over everything. He had made his choice. He was going to desert the village. He had made it outside of the gates of Konoha with no problems. However, about 30 minutes after leaving, he felt 3 chakra signatures that he knew quite well. He stopped on a tree limb and waited for them to show up. Soon afterwards, Ino, Hinata, and Shikamaru stopped not far behind him. Naruto, what are you doing? Shikamaru asked the blonde. Getting out of here, Naruto answered simply. Do you have a mission or something? Hinata asked him. Something like that, Naruto answered. What do you mean? Ino asked him. Meanwhile, she was getting ready to use her jutsu and Shikamaru was already launching his. Go ahead, Naruto told them. I already know how you guys operate. Go ahead and read my mind, Ino. Ino was slightly surprised that he already knew what she was trying to do, but didn't let that stop her for long. Okay, Naruto. Yamanaka style. Mind switch jutsu. Hinata caught Ino's body as it slumped, her jutsu successful. Ino found herself in Naruto's mind, then turned and faced what she wasn't expecting. The nine-tailed fox. Hua, Ino said, backing up a little. What are you doing in here, Yamanaka? Kurama asked her. Trying to help him? I'm trying to see why he's trying to leave the village. Do you honestly have to find out? You have been in his company for years now, and you can't even see it? See what exactly? Ino asked the Biju. Kurama couldn't help but facepalm. I don't know why he put up with you all for so damn long. Think about his past, think about everything you have seen him go through, think about all the obstacles he has overcome. Think about the way the Entrie damned village treated him ever since he was an infant. I know everything, I have seen it with my own eyes. Honestly, I would have left a long time ago, if not outright destroyed the village myself if I were in his shoes. What are you talking about, Nine Tails? Ino asked. Kurama growled in frustration and simply clapped his hands. A shimmer of light appeared and eventually formed into Naruto's memories being played. Hey, I remember all of these, Ino said. These were his memories that everyone saw during the war when he was connected to me via mental link. You pathetic little child, what you saw was a very brief overview of his life, that didn't include even a tenth of his life. Here, you will see much more. So for the next hour, Kurama practically shoved all of Naruto's painful memories into her head. It was an hour inside of their heads, but in reality was maybe only a few minutes. After it was done, Ino fell to her knees, doing her absolute best not to cry. It took every single ounce of her ninja training to not let her tears fall. But they were dangerously close. Now, before you ask me him why he is leaving, recall the memories you have just seen. Recall all of his experiences and think on them. After that, you ask yourself, why didn't he just kill everybody? Now get the hell out of here, I am tired and want to rest. The next thing Ino Yamanaka knew, she was shoved out of Naruto's mind and back into her own. She woke up with a frightened face, looking everywhere, making sure no one or nothing unfamiliar was around them. She looked like the world's most paranoid person there ever was. Ino. Hinata shook Ino a little and said to her, what happened in there, Ino? Ino tried to get out, but couldn't for some reason. Ino, take a breath, Shikamaru told his own teammate. Ino took a deep breath, then finally let the tears fall, bawling like a baby in the process. She fell to her knees, putting her face in her hands as she cried and cried. Ino, what happened? Shikamaru asked her. I saw everything and more, Ino told them. I don't understand. You don't understand what, Ino? Hinata asked her. The things I have seen in his mind, the things he has been through, Naruto, I don't understand? How could you just move on like that? Didn't you ever seek revenge at all? Naruto turned to face her, and he must admit, the forest looked serene in the snow. Everything was so peaceful. Because I always knew there were innocents, he answered the Yamanaka. There's always someone who is involved with said person who did me wrong, a child, a spouse. I refused to hurt them because of a vendetta I may or may not have had against one person of that family. I learned to bury it all, bury all of the hatred and anger. However, as you saw in my memories, the events from these past years have been too much. I am done with Konoha, I am done with the Leaf. I leave you all alive because we were all once brothers and sisters in arms. No longer. Everyone from the Leaf has betrayed or hurt me in some way, way too many times. I am done, and I am out. What are you going to do? Shikamaru asked his friend. I don't know, Naruto answered truthfully. What do you want? Ino asked him. He turned to her and said honestly, to fill the void inside. Not that any of you would really understand what that's like. He turned and vanished into thin air. The only evidence stating that he was even there was the fact that 3 of his former friends saw him. Now the question remained in everyone's head. What now? Naruto stood atop of a snow-covered tree, looking down at the 3 shinobi and kunoichi that he had just talked to. He didn't need to, but it was nice to talk to them one last time before he left, possibly for good. He didn't know if he would ever come back, even to visit. All he knew right now was that he had to get the hell out of Konoha. And that's exactly what he did. Without looking back at his former friends, he turned and leapt through the trees in the opposite direction, away from Konoha. He didn't have a plan as to where to go, and quite frankly he didn't really care either. He had always been a loner, which in turn forced him how to survive in many different situations unaided, so he could do so again with little to no problem. He wasn't worried about threats from anywhere either. He had so much power it was just ridiculous, even to him. Firstly, he had Kurama at his side. That alone is a huge plus. Second, he had his best friend's Rinnegan, and all of the abilities that Pain and Sasuke had. Third, since his arm that was blown off had been replaced with a white Zetsu clone arm that had Hashirama Senju's cells in it, he also now wielded the power of wood style. He and Kurama had been working on wielding it both on and off the field of battle, and he had become quite proficient at it. Fourth, Sage Mode. Sage Mode in itself was a beast, and a force to be reckoned with, no matter who could utilize it. Fifth, he also had the remaining 8 other Biju sealed within him as well. And lastly, he had the power given to him by the Sage of 6 Paths. Basically, he was a super-powered human of sorts. However, he had to go through immense pain and tragedy in order to acquire this power, and half of it, most of it actually, he didn't even want. He didn't want his friend's eye, he wanted his friend to have it. He didn't want the Sage of 6 Paths power, he basically had to die in order to get that. And he didn't want the wood style, he lost an arm. He was grateful for Kurama because he had now become his best friend, and he was also grateful, to an extent, for Sage Mode, so he could be like his teacher. Everything else, he could have done without, no problem. However, he was stuck with it now, so he might as well put it to good use. He didn't know how long he traveled, he just knew that he had now entered the mountains. Not the mountains of Kumo, he knew what those looked like, these were completely different. These mountains looked almost hidden. Not the mountains themselves, but more like they were designed like this to keep something from getting in, or something from getting out. He wasn't sure, but curiosity got a hold of him, so he decided to go and check it out. Hokage-sama, Shikamaru called out as he entered the Hokage's office. Kakashi Hitaki, the 6th Hokage, sat up straight and said, "What's going on?" "Naruto has just abandoned the village," Hinata said sadly. "Seriously?" Kakashi asked incredulously. "Unfortunately, yes," Shikamaru said. "We tried to convince him to stay, but—" "Is it true, Kakashi-sensei?" Ino interrupted. "Is what true, Ino?" Kakashi asked the blonde kunoichi. "Did Konoha really play a hand in Uzu's destruction?" Ino asked. Shikamaru and Hinata were both shocked by this. "What are you talking about? Everyone knows that's not what happened, Ino," Shikamaru stated to her. But Ino shook her head and said to him, "No, Shika, I saw it in his memories." He sent a clone into the Hokage's archives and located the original scroll, swapped it with a copy, and took the original scroll with him. He knows, and was absolutely devastated by it. "Kakashi-sensei, is it really true?" Kakashi sighed heavily. "Unfortunately, yes." "What?" Hinata and Shikamaru asked simultaneously. Granted, I didn't even know about that until I first came into office. Let me guess, you all thought that Konoha was just too late, right? Hi, they all responded. Yeah, me too, Kakashi said to them. That was until I saw the truth in the Sandame's own handwriting. I was shocked, just like you three are. I still can't believe it though, the fact that our own home village destroyed our allies by ignoring them? It's just hard to take in. Yeah, I can only imagine how Naruto feels about this, Shikamaru said. It's no wonder why he just up and left. That, and apparently Sasuke's death and Sakura's ridiculous attitude towards him, Kakashi said. What exactly did Sakura do? Hinata asked. In short, blamed everything on Naruto, called him a worthless demon, and that she wished that he was dead along with his mother, with the rest of his clan during its extermination. Are you fucking kidding me? Ino asked. Wish I was, Ino, I really do, Kakashi said to her. Damn it forehead, Ino said to herself. But why was he so devastated by it though? He gets over everything else pretty quickly, Hinata said. Hinata, I'm going to let you in on a little secret, Kakashi said as he leaned forward a little, hands clasped together in front of him. Sakura did the utmost horrible thing that a woman could do to a man, period, he said to her. She gave him an almost untreatable wound, one that not even he has suffered the likes of before. What are you talking about, Kakashi-sensei? Ino asked. What I'm talking about, Ino, is what Sakura did to him, Kakashi said. She broke his heart, but why is that so dangerous? Hinata asked. I understand that it would be incredibly painful, but you're making it seem much more than it is. That's because it is more than what it is, Hinata, Kakashi explained further. Never underestimate a man with a broken heart. He will do things completely carelessly because he literally has nothing left to lose. So, you mean that Naruto, going on all of those missions alone, especially the dangerous ones? Ino concluded, and Kakashi nodded his head. Yes, he was, in a way, trying to make it all stop, just hoping that someone would put an end to it all. Of course, he's too powerful for anyone of our generation to stop him, but he was still hoping. That's the most dangerous part about a man with a broken heart. What, Kakashi-sensei? Ino asked. The fact that he'll do just about anything to make it stop. That's not good, Shikamaru concluded. No, Kakashi agreed, no it's not. Naruto had climbed the top of the mountain range and looked over the snow-covered mountain caps. He could see for miles and miles away, it was a beautiful sight to see. The snow felt good on his skin, and the cold air served a purpose to cool him down after that long run away from the leaf. However, one strange sight did catch his attention. It was what looked like a very large black plane that was shaped like a certain nocturnal mammal. He watched as it flew down and landed somewhere, the snow and air flying everywhere. Is whoever flying that thing trying to be noticed? Naruto thought to himself. Use your sage mode and find out what's going on over there. Kurama spoke to him via their mental link. Good suggestion, Kurama. Mind set on what to do next. Naruto sat down on the snow in a meditative position. In almost no time at all, he had acquired Sage Mode. Using his enhanced senses and Sage abilities, he extended his senses out to the area in which that plane thing landed. He could tell that two figures were coming from the plane, and were going into some sort of facility, which had many hundreds upon hundreds of other people inside. There was also one more figure within, and he could tell that this one had immense power. What's going on over there? Naruto asked himself. But another wave of power throughout the general area got him focused on that area again, as a huge amount of power seemed to fly through the sky and land in that same area. He couldn't tell what it was, but he could tell that the people down there were in a panic. I should probably go see what's going on, someone might need some help. He got up and, still in Sage Mode, ran towards the specified area with new vigor. Batman got up in one prisoner's face and said, "Stand down, prisoner, this is your last chance." Yeah? What are you gonna do about it, Bats? Huh? What are you gonna? Get back in line, a new voice shouted. The prisoner looked into the darkened hallway and did as he was told with a look of fear on his face as Clark Kent, also known as Superman, floated through the area towards where Batman was. You can't just kill people, Superman. Batman said to him with a forceful tone. I took one life, to save millions, Superman justified. Yes, and then when does the killing end? When there's no more crime, Superman argued. Hey, I got one, Robin said out of nowhere. Everyone turned to see him hold a prisoner with no shirt on, a knife to his throat. "Robin, what are you doing?" Batman yelled out. "Why are we letting these bastards go?" Robin countered. "These are all killers, murderers, rapists, child molesters. One of these guys should die, and you know it. We don't cross that line, Robin." Batman tried to reason with him. Robin tightened his grip and lifted the prisoner up more a little and said to him, "How many women have you killed, huh?" The prisoner laughed a little like a maniac and said, He, 121. "Son, don't." Batman yelled out. "You didn't raise me," Robin said. He kicked the back of the prisoner's knees so that he was kneeling and said to Batman, "The League of Assassins did." Slice. Robin cut the man's throat and dropped him like a piece of garbage and said, "There, problem solved." "Damn it, Damien," Batman yelled out in anger. "Just because you're too much of a coward to do what needs to be done sometimes doesn't mean that I am. I will kill if it saves lives, Bruce. I'm your father." Batman yelled out. "You will address me as such. You're not my father." Robin yelled back. "Ra's al Ghul is. He is the one who raised me." Superman put his hand on Robin's shoulder in a comforting manner. "That's enough, Damien," he said softly. He started to fly upwards with Robin in tow. "See you later, Dad," Robin said mockingly. That was when he and Superman flew off into the distance. That was also when Bruce Wayne heard multiple screams and woes of death from further within the busted prison. He ran over to see what was going on. To his knowledge, he was the only one left, aside from the prisoners, of course. When he arrived in the courtyard of the prison, he saw something he never expected. There, in the middle of the courtyard, was someone in a black cloak cutting down multiple prisoners that were attacking him left and right with a sword. Arms were cut off. Legs were removed from the body. Heads were literally rolling on the floor. Multiple men lay there dying with multiple stab wounds in their bodies. Several men were already dead, their throats cut. "What the hell is going on here? Stop killing them," Batman roared out to the new stranger. A prisoner was coming up behind Batman with a steel pipe, ready to bash his head in. Batman turned around and thought he was going to get it, and get it good. Until a shuriken found itself buried halfway into the prisoner's face. He stumbled a little, gurgling and choking on his own blood, then fell flat on the floor, completely still. Batman turned back around and saw the stranger flick the blood off of his sword and then sheathe it on his back. "Why did you kill them?" Batman roared out. "I heard that conversation," the stranger said to him, never turning to face him. "That son of yours? He's right. If you don't kill someone, especially if that person deserves it, and that said person kills someone else, that victim's death is on your hands. You could have prevented that person's death, but if you do not kill the perpetrator, you are only delaying the inevitable. Don't be a coward. Kill those who must die." Batman retrieved his bat claw and fired it at the stranger, intent on trapping him and bringing him closer. Just before the claw hit the stranger, he puffed into smoke and the claw grabbed a log instead. Batman smashed the log, but then felt a kick to the side of his head that really hurt, even with his armored cowl on. Batman got up, light-headed from that powerful blow. "If you attack me again," the stranger said, "I will be forced to deal with you accordingly. This is your only chance, stand down." "You killed all of these men," Batman said as he got up. "You're a murderer and need to be locked up in jail. I'm taking you in." "Every one of these men were criminals of the highest caliber," the stranger said to him. "I could sense their evil within. Murderers, rapists, arsonists, you name it, they were all here, and they all deserved to die. I saved lives while you would only jeopardize them. Coward." Batman growled and charged at the stranger with the intent to bring him down, hard. He saw the stranger close his eyes, then open them, and saw that one was purple with rings in it. He then yelled out something that he didn't understand. "Limbo, Hengoku. Remember in the anime when Madara said that, and he knocked all of the Biju down? That's what Naruto is doing to Batman now." Batman felt like he had been punched in the face by God himself. The force of the blow hurt so badly. He flew back into one of the brick walls, almost knocked unconscious. His vision was hazy as he looked up at the stranger who was walking up to him. Who are you?" Batman managed to ask, barely. "I am, the Kitsune Sennin," the stranger answered. "The Fox Sage." It was then that he just disappeared. No smoke, no noise, just gone. "Fox Sage?" Batman murmured before he lost consciousness. Meanwhile, an Amazon princess saw the whole thing from a distance. Very concerned, she quickly flew away to the base where she and Superman resided to go report to him. This information, this new, fox sage, could be dangerous. Outside in the mountains covered in snow, Naruto appeared. He looked back towards the area he was just in, regretting nothing that was just done. He didn't care. He was done caring about everyone. As far as he was concerned, he was alone and always was, and probably destined to be. And if he was going to suffer, he wasn't going to let any low-life scumbags another chance to hurt others. Not if he could help it. I guess that's my new purpose, I suppose, he said to himself. To punish those that would bring harm to others. That bat-looking guy was an idiot though. You got that right, Naruto, Kurama said within his mindscape. Who dresses like a bat anyway? With that said, he disappeared once again into the snowy air. This realm will be mine. A woman in pink and black said to herself, frustrated as hell. How dare he just snatch the throne from me? And Ermac betrayed me. Melina, the now former empress of Outworld, was absolutely livid at just about everything. Just once she had claimed the throne, like her father, Shao Kahn, it was taken from her by force. Not that she was weak, her allies were either dead or betrayed her. Damn you Kotal, she mumbled to herself. She slumped against the stone wall and fell to the floor, depression taking a hold of her. First, she had her title of Empress taken from her, and now she was locked away in her own dungeon. RRRGGHH, I hate admitting this, but I need some help. Ask, and you shall receive, a new voice said outside of her cell. She looked up and saw a stranger cloaked in black. He had one eye that was yellow with a toad iris with an orange pigment around it, and the other eye was purple with rings around it. Behind him, what looked like a dark purple and black portal was opened. He had a little snow on his form, and brushed it off. He then grabbed the cell door and literally ripped it off like it was a plastic toy or something. He threw it aside and held out his hand to her. Are you coming or not? The stranger asked. Why are you helping me? Melina asked him. I am a sage, he answered. I seek balance within multiple realms. This one is really, unhealthily unbalanced. I aim to fix that. First, I must get you out of here. Now, come, or stay, your choice. I can't hold this portal forever. Melina was hesitant, but then thought to herself, he is rescuing me from my own dungeon. This may be my only chance to break free. She grabbed his hand and they immediately took off to the portal, but someone shouted Melina's name. Melina, wait. Both of them stopped and looked back at who was calling at the woman in pink. It was another woman who had slightly darker skin, and wore an emerald green outfit. Her long black hair was tied back in a long braid. Jade, Melina said, what are you doing here? I came to get you out of here, Jade said, but it looks like you already have had help. Jade, my friend, come with us. Let's get you out of Outworld. Of course. Jade grabbed Melina's hand. Taking that as the go-ahead, Naruto brought both women with him through the portal. What would happen next? Batman walked back and forth within his Batcave. His cowl was off, but still had the rest of his suit on. His hands were behind his back, and he was deep in thought. Alfred, his butler and assistant, was also there with him. So, who is this fellow, Master Bruce? Alfred asked. He called himself the Fox Sage, Bruce Wayne answered. He also said it in a different language, the Kitsune Sennin. That's in Japanese. What is it you are trying to do, sir? Alfred asked. Trying to find out some sort of lead as to who this guy is, Bruce answered. There is absolutely no data on him at any time, at any point, anywhere. He literally just showed up. I don't like this. There have been enemies out there who have simply appeared before, sir, Alfred said to his master. True, Bruce said, but they were just aliases. Costume names. This guy, whoever he is, there is no information at all. You will find out who he is at some point, Master Bruce, Alfred said confidently. Soon isn't now, Bruce said to himself. I saw what he did, Superman, Wonder Woman said. He literally took him down like he wasn't anything at all. He was toying with him, even worse than he was with the prisoners that he killed. He took down Bruce that easily? Superman asked his longtime female companion. Saw it with my own eyes, Wonder Woman reported. He spoke something in a different language, then Batman just flew back like a rocket and hit the wall. The man in black didn't even move a muscle when that happened. That's very strange, Superman concluded. What I don't understand is, where did he come from? I honestly have no idea, Wonder Woman said. What's going on? Robin asked. Your father had another fight, Wonder Woman said to him. Yeah, so what? He was beaten, badly, Superman said. No way, Robin said, not believing it. I saw it, Wonder Woman told Robin. I just told Superman here, Batman is absolutely no match for this new person, whoever he is. And he beat you, Superman, no offense, Robin said. None taken, Clark Kent said in return. It's not another Kryptonian, right? No, Diana of the Themyscira said. I would have noticed. He seems more like you, Robin. What do you mean? You fight with stealth and precision, with power behind every strike. He did the same, only more experienced, I guess. Is he with the League of Assassins? Robin asked. I am not sure, Diana, aka Wonder Woman, said to him, but it's a possibility. Well, we have to find out more about this guy. Robin said to both Superman and Wonder Woman, if there's one thing I learned from the League, it's to always find information on your potential enemies. No knowledge is a terrible thing. I agree with that, Diana said. We must find out more about this new arrival. How are we going to do that? Robin asked. We need to take him in. Knowing Bruce, that's probably the way he approached the man as well, and it didn't turn out well for him, Superman said. That's always how Bruce does things, he always tried to use force. He never even attempts to use diplomacy. Instead of using force, we need to try to simply talk to him. Normally, people are a lot more polite and caring if you talk to them first. That's fine and all, but how do we find him? Robin said. Leave that to me, Wonder Woman said. Naruto, Melina, and Jade had just jumped out of one of Naruto's dark purple and black portals from Outworld. They had arrived via portal on a large mountain range far away from, well, everything. The range was high, barren, and cold. It snowed almost constantly in this particular environment, due to the cold weather almost year-round. The wind wasn't too bad, but it always had a chilly air to it. They could all see each other's breaths in the air, like it was a mist. What is your name? Melina asked the stranger after the portal closed. She immediately began to shiver, but she wanted to know who her rescuer was first. My name is Naruto, he answered her without turning to look at her. I am Melina, Empress of Outworld and daughter of Shao Kahn, Melina said to him. I am grateful to you, Naruto, for getting me out of there. You are very welcome, Your Highness, Naruto said, still not looking at her. And who might you be exactly? I am Jade, Jade answered, fellow princess of Edenia and loyal supporter to the rightful ruler of Outworld, Melina. Thank you, Naruto said. Now, before we get started, there's a couple things you two should know. First, he turned to face them both, eyes piercing their very souls. I will not betray. Any act of such will result in your immediate and excruciatingly painful death, am I understood? Both girls nodded. Secondly, I expect to form a team of sorts, and I hereby request that you two join. If you do not wish to do so, we can go our separate ways now, as I do not have time to waste on anything else other than what I need to do. Choose. I stand by whatever my Empress says, Naruto, Jade said. Her choice is mine as well. Melina looked down and thought for a moment. I need to regain my throne. She thought to herself. If I join his little team or whatever, then I will have to set that goal aside. On the other hand, he did save me from my prison, after all. I could have been executed in the morning, or anything else for that matter. For now, I guess I have no choice. I choose to side with you, Naruto, Melina said to him. However, I would like to further pursue my goal of regaining my throne after this whole thing is over. I understand, Naruto said. Good thing you accepted my proposition, because I am going to help you with that very thing, Empress Melina. What? Melina said, surprised. She fully expected him to use her for his own goals and desires, not help her with her own. I told you, I'm a sage, and we sages seek balance throughout the realms, Naruto explained. Now, that being said, you also need to know how much power I really possess. I've been wondering that myself, Jade said. Allow me to show you some extent, Naruto said. Naruto turned around and clapped his hands together, and a loud clap was heard. He closed his eyes and gathered quite a large amount of chakra. After about a minute or so, his eyes had the orange pigment around them, signifying that he had gone into sage mode. He then said out loud in a deep and authoritative voice, Senpo, Mokuton, Jukai Kuden, Sage Art, Wood Style, Deep Forest Emergence. Melina and Jade were then shocked beyond belief. Within just a few minutes, an entire foreset was created, from practically nothing at all. All of the large trees blew in the wind slightly due to the cold breeze, and the treetops were almost immediately covered in snow, so much of it was falling down. "This will be our new base," Naruto said to the two Edenian women. "Here? In a forest?" Jade asked. "Yes," Naruto responded. "In a forest." Melina didn't want to question him, clearly he had a plan in mind. They walked inside the forest that had just been created on top of the mountain for about 20 minutes, until he stopped and said to them, "We will stay here from now on." "Where?" Melina asked. Naruto did a few more hand signs and yelled out, "Wood-style, 4-pillar house." A large, Japanese-style house rose from the ground, once more mesmerizing the two Edenian women. "Here," Naruto replied. They all walked inside and there was nothing within, save for a futon in each of the 4 rooms inside, and a fire pit in the center of each room. Naruto walked inside to the furthest room and told them from within, "You two can pick which rooms you want. Do whatever you want, I don't care. Just don't ruin the place, it takes more chakra to make than what it looks." Still amazed by the sudden creation of a whole freaking house, they each chose a separate room. They didn't really do anything, mainly because there was nothing to do. Both women came out of their rooms and walked towards the room Naruto was in. They saw that he had removed his sword and sheath and placed it on the ground next to him. Currently, he was sitting down, meditating. Melina and Jade both walked inside and sat down across from him, watching him intently. "What do you want?" he asked them suddenly. "Why are you helping us?" Melina asked him. "What are you gaining out of it?" "A different life," Naruto answered simply. "A different life?" Jade asked, confused. "Yes. From what, exactly?" Jade asked the black-clad ninja. "From my old life." "Why won't you give us a straight answer?" Melina asked, quite frustrated at this point at not getting the information that she wanted from him. "Do you really have to ask me that?" Naruto asked sarcastically, yet never opening his eyes or moving from his position. Snarling, Melina pulled out her tusei and said, "Listen here, you filthy Huma." Bam! In a heartbeat, Naruto had got up and performed a brutal roundhouse kick. The blow landed on Melina's chest, sending her back against the wooden wall, slightly cracking it. Melina gasped for air, trying to ignore the pain from the blow, but it was damn near impossible. The next thing she knew, she felt the cold tip of steel press up against her throat, particularly against her jugular vein. "If you ever draw your weapons on me again," Naruto warned with an angry tone of voice, "I will personally cut off your fucking head. You stand no chance against me, and you have no idea who you're up against. Do not fuck with me again, understood?" Melina nodded slightly and dropped her sei to the ground. Naruto pulled the sword away, twirled it, then sheathed it back on his back. He turned around and sat back down, resuming his meditation. Melina and Jade both decided that it was best to just go back to their rooms and rest for the remainder of the night. "She's got spunk," Naruto thought to himself. Good. Wonder Woman and Superman were flying over many different areas, with Superman using his X-ray vision to search the area more efficiently, while also carrying Robin. They had been flying in many different regions, but they had finally reached the mountain range that Naruto was staying in. After about 20 minutes or so of searching, Superman finally found his form hiding inside what looked like an old-fashioned Japanese-style house. "There he is," Superman announced. "Follow me." They all flew down and landed on the ground really hard. If you played Injustice 2, during the characters' intros before the match and Superman lands really hard. That's how he is landing, as well as Wonder Woman. Robin landed right next to them, then stood up straight. "Excuse me," Superman called out loudly. "I am looking for a gentleman who seemed like a ninja of sorts. My colleagues and I are not here for conflict, we simply wish to ask some questions. We ask that you please comply." Next thing they knew, 50 different Narutos in their black popped into existence. They all formed a circle around the 3 possible threats. "Who are you?" all 50 Naruto clones asked simultaneously. Superman started off. "I am Superman, this here is Wonder Woman, and this here is Robin. As I said, we mean you no harm at all, we only ask that you answer a few questions that we have." The clones were silent, as if they were weighing the outcomes of whether or not they accepted or denied their request. Apparently he accepted, as he went on to say, "Your request is granted. What is it you wish to know?" "Thank you for hearing us out, Superman said to the 50 clones. They were still very wary. After all of these people simply came out of nowhere. We saw that you were fighting against a rather questionably ally of ours. He goes by the name of Batman. Can you tell us why? He attacked me first, all clones replied at the same time. Any other particular reason? Wonder Woman chimed in. He said he wanted to take me in, which I can only assume means to arrest someone, the clones explained. Take you in? What for? Robin inquired. For killing multiple prisoners. Wait, you actually killed them? Robin asked. Quite a few, yes, the Naruto clones answered. Always the same, Superman said, shaking his head. So against killing someone, even if it's for the better good and everyone knows it. I take it you do not follow the same logic as this so-called Batman? The clones asked. As far as protecting everyone, yes, Wonder Woman stated. However, we do realize that sometimes lives must be taken in order for others to be saved. That is true, all the clones said. What else? I saw you do something that I even in all my years of life have never seen. You said something and then Batman was thrown back like a rag doll. What did you do? Wonder Woman asked the clones. Secret, all the clones surrounding them said. Are you a member of the League of Assassins? Robin asked out of the blue. I've never heard of this league, so no. Then are you a ninja? Robin asked. What do you think? We would like to seek an alliance with you, Wonder Woman said to the clones. May we please speak to the real one of you? I don't trust you, all 50 clones said with authority. It was then that the sound of a plane could be heard nearby. Within seconds, a large shadow fell over them all. Damn it, Bruce, Superman said through grit teeth. The plane landed in a small clearing within the snowy woods. Good thing the Batwing is somewhat flexible. The plane shut down, and out came the Dark Knight. Where is he? Batman demanded of Superman. He is clearly not going with you, Bruce, Superman stated, obviously agitated. Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, had an enormously huge talent for getting on people's bad sides. This newcomer was no exception, especially with the way Wonder Woman described it. Whipped his ass with barely even touching him. He will this time, Batman disagreed. He killed people back in that prison. He deserves to be locked away. So, the clones said simultaneously, you lead him here? No, that's not the case, Superman said. I'm not sure how exactly he found you, but I assure you that we did not help him. We are not on the best of terms ourselves. Maybe this was an attempt to mend those terms, the 50 Naruto clones surrounding them all said suggestively. I understand what this looks like, Wonder Woman said, but we are not allied with Batman as of now. In fact, especially with the prisoners, we are on the same side as you. You can't just kill people, Diana. Batman said aggravated. Even if they do deserve it, taking life is wrong. There are lines we just don't cross. Some lines, the 50 clones said, you must cross. Suddenly, all 50 clones dispersed, and the smoke from their disappearance clouded the area. Everyone heard an oof, and after the smoke cleared out, Batman was laying on the ground, nursing his armored chin. I can tell you have had a little bit of ninja training, Batman. Naruto's voice was heard throughout the woods, but it is worse than child's play compared to me. Stop embarrassing yourself. You won't get away from me this time. Show yourself. Batman yelled out. He reached up and touched the side of his armored cowl, activating his thermal vision, and began searching the area. Scanning everywhere, he couldn't find his target anywhere at all. It was then that he felt iron grips on his ankles. He looked down and saw two armored gloves grabbing them and everyone heard, Earth-style, headhunter jutsu. Next thing he knew, Batman was buried in the ground neck deep. Whoa, Robin said out loud. Naruto appeared in front of Batman in a puff of smoke. I could kill you right here and now, Naruto said to him. However, you have not endangered any innocents. At least, not here, not now. Therefore, you are not guilty. I only kill those who must be killed in order to protect those who cannot defend themselves. The fact that you lack the spine to do the same at all disgusts me, and makes you a coward in my eyes. This is now the second time you have attempted to arrest me on crap charges. Try that again, and I will remove something from your body, understood? You don't scare me, Batman said to Naruto, glaring in his face. I've faced against enemies you couldn't even beat. And I have defeated enemies you wouldn't even survive, Naruto countered. Pain, Akatsuki, Kagaya, Madara, Sasuke. And you can't even bring up the courage to kill a few prisoners. That's a coward, nothing more and nothing less. Who are those people you just mentioned? Superman asked him. I don't trust you, or anyone for that matter, Naruto stated, so obviously I am not going to tell you. Is there any way that we can prove to you that we are on your side? Wonder Woman asked. Naruto thought for a moment, then pointed at the head of Batman who was still stuck in the ground and said, kill him. Why? Wonder Woman asked him. From what I understand, this guy here, this fool dressed in a ridiculous costume, is indirectly responsible for hundreds if not thousands of deaths of innocent people. Yeah, really, Robin said. Can you give me any details? Naruto asked Robin. Of course. Where to start? His nemesis was the Joker. That guy was a flat-out maniac that needed to die. Bombs, stabbings, shootings, torture sessions, the Joker either had people killed or killed them personally, and all my so-called father here did was have him locked up a few times. Each and every time, he got out. And what happened after that? More death of innocent men, women and children. Every time. Naruto looked at Wonder Woman and Superman and said to them, that's why. He willingly let this Joker live, and in doing so, those innocent people's blood is on his hands. He must pay for his cowardice. Kill him. Now. Wonder Woman had no problem with carrying this through. She drew her sword from the sheath on her back and pointed it in Batman's face and said to him, you always were a coward, Bruce. Time to pay. She lifted her sword and swung it down, aiming to split his skull in half. Batman closed his eyes, awaiting his end. Stop. The blade stopped half an inch from the top of Batman's head. Wonder Woman looked at Naruto in slight confusion. You have earned my trust, Wonder Woman, Naruto said to her. You have showed me that you will do what it takes to protect those who need it, and eliminate those who must die. Superman and Robin, you are on the right path. Batman, you are now my enemy. Stay away, or it's your funeral. Naruto clapped his hands together and said, Kai. The ground loosened, and Batman got out of the ground. The second he was totally free, he immediately charged at Naruto with the intent of bringing him down. He threw a stun batarang at him in order to make his job easier, but it was obviously too easy for Naruto to dodge. Naruto threw a shuriken at the batarang, and the collision caused the stun batarang to go off prematurely. There was a large flash of light that temporarily blinded Batman. He wasn't expecting Naruto to counter that so easily and quickly. Before he knew it, Naruto was upon him and whoopin' ass. First Naruto used the heel of his foot and stomped down against Batman's shin bone, then performed a power kick against his stomach, then executed a powerful backflip kick to his chin, knocking the Dark Knight up in the air. Naruto jumped up and unsheathed his sword and slashed at Batman many times. Because Batman's suit was lined with armor, no cuts were suffered, but that still didn't mean that the blows themselves didn't hurt. While in the air, Naruto performed a very powerful roundhouse kick that sent Batman flying against the nearest tree. Batman slammed against the tree and felt like he had been hit by a freight train. Naruto landed on his feet, twirled his blade, then sheathed his weapon on his back. He pulled out a kunai with an explosive tag on it and launched it at the Dark Knight, and it exploded right before impact. The tree itself was blown to pieces. The only thing saving Batman was his armor, though it was now badly damaged. After a minute or so, Batman slowly started to get back up and said to Naruto, "You are a very strong person, for a criminal. And I never knew that a coward could be so weak," Naruto countered. "I'll say this one more time, Batman. You don't stand a chance against me." He performed a few hand signs and announced, "Wood style, wood prison." He shot his hand forth, and his hand and forearm transformed into wood that reached out and wrapped around Batman like a straitjacket. Naruto walked forward and punched Batman in the temple extremely hard, knocking him out. He turned back towards Superman, Wonder Woman, and Robin and told them, "Come with me." "But what about him?" Robin asked. "He'll get out, I'm sure," Naruto said. He then whistled out loud, and Melina and Jade walked out of the wooden house that Naruto had made earlier. "What's going on, Fox Sage?" Melina asked him. "As I have said, we have been discovered," Naruto said to them. "We must relocate now." "Where to?" Jade asked. "You'll see. I want you three to join me," Naruto told Superman, Wonder Woman, and Robin. "If we are to be allies, then we need to know more about each other." "Fine with me," Superman said. Wonder Woman and Robin both nodded in confirmation. Naruto turned around and closed his eyes. A moment later, he opened his left eye wide, his Rinnegan appearing. Shortly after, a dark purple and black portal opened up in front of them. "Let's go," Naruto said to them. "Where are we going?" Melina asked him. "To my old home." In Konoha, a black and dark purple portal appeared on the top of a very high building, not too far from the Hokage Tower. Naruto, Melina, Jade, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Robin all exited the portal. A moment later, the portal dissipated behind them. Naruto glanced around to see if anything was changed or if anyone was nearby. He could feel that there were about 4 Anbu not too far from them, and that one of them had sensed their presence. Naruto, realizing this, commanded his newly and officially formed team. "We have company. Disperse, now." Superman grabbed Robin and Melina and flew up in the air quickly, out of sight. Wonder Woman grabbed a hold of Jade and did the same. Naruto simply vanished into thin air, just in time too. An Anbu operative arrived on top of the roof of the building, exactly where Naruto was just a second ago. His sword was drawn and he was ready to attack. However, he was confused whenever he arrived and found nothing. "Someone was just here, I know it," the Anbu said. "Where the hell did they go?" Naruto silently appeared in the darkness behind the Anbu. Naruto put him in a tight chokehold, restricting the ANBU's movements completely. Reaching for his sword, Naruto withdrew the deadly weapon and then shoved it none too gently in the ANBU's back, and it went through the ANBU's stomach, but didn't penetrate the armor he was wearing. With one more forceful thrust, the blade went through the ANBU's armor as well. The Anbu was in shock from the incredible amount of pain. Naruto then took a small step back and literally yanked the blade out. The Anbu let out a cry of excruciating pain and death woes. War. When Naruto's blade was yanked out, the ANBU's blood spewed out like a fountain. The Anbu fell to his knees, head slumped forward, no longer breathing. Naruto flicked the blood off of his blade, twirled it, then sheathed it on his back. Once again, Naruto disappeared. The 3 remaining Anbu appeared on the roof, and immediately saw their fallen comrade. "Bear!" the leader cried out. "Shit. Alright men, there's been an attack, we have to URK." He never got the chance to finish his sentence. A quick flash of a blade, and he was split in half diagonally. The top half of his body slid down in a bloody heap onto the roof's floor. The other 2, even for being Anbu, couldn't help but be completely shocked that their leader, one of the best Anbu there ever was just cleaved in 2. And they never even saw who did it. That's when the one on the left felt him being forced into a chokehold. A quick flash of a blade, and he felt cold steel penetrate his heart. Then it was yanked out none too gently, blood from the pumping muscle spraying his fellow comrade before he went down. ARRRGH. The remaining Anbu only saw a glimpse of a black cloak before he felt a kunai buried halfway into his knee, forcing him to kneel. "Shit," the Anbu cried out. He then panicked when he felt someone sit on his shoulders and use their legs to hold their arms back. He looked up to see a sword penetrate his body from the top of his right shoulder, all the way down to below his ribs on the right side. The assassin twisted the blade to where the sharpened side was facing outward, and he yanked the blade out, totally opening up the ANBU's right side of his body. The assassin leapt off of the dead ninja's body, and once again cleaned off his sword before resheathing it. "Weak," Naruto said. Superman, Wonder Woman, Melina, Jade, and Robin all landed quietly and softly back on the roof next to Naruto. "Why did you kill them?" Robin asked him. "Trust me," Naruto began, "these guys, Anbu, you can't give them a chance to retaliate. If you do, you're dead, or they will alert everyone else. Plus, I've lost my mercy when it comes to this damned place." "Why is that?" Melina asked. "In short, the leaders of this place are indirectly responsible for the destruction of my real home." Naruto then began to head off, signaling the end of that particular conversation. The others shrugged and began to follow him. Naruto stopped at the edge of the roof and looked down below, further observing the village far below them all. "Little cowards," Naruto muttered under his breath. "It was always like this. They always celebrated while I always suffered." Normally, he would have been too quiet for anyone else to hear, but he didn't know that Superman had superhuman hearing, so he had just heard what the ninja in black had just said. Walking up behind him, Superman said to him quietly, "Mind if you tell me what you meant by that?" "Meant by what?" Naruto said, trying to pretend that he didn't know what he was talking about. "Listen," Superman began, I understand that you don't fully trust me, and I don't blame you for that. However, I do want you to know that I've lived for quite some time now, and so I can tell when someone is hurting. Just know that if you ever need it, not only myself, but Wonder Woman is also here for you as well. You do have someone here to talk to, whether you know it or not. Superman laid a comforting hand on Naruto's shoulder, then walked back to the others without another word. Naruto thought about what was just said to him, but thought that it was just too early to trust anyone else at this point. Wonder Woman was the only one currently that was closest to earning his trust, but things could change. He figured that out the hard way. After all, what else was he supposed to think when he had found out that his home, Konoha, had been indirectly responsible for the destruction of his original homeland and deaths of his entire ancestry? That's not something one can just walk away from. Naruto was debating on what exactly to do at this point. As of right now, he had two choices. First, he could just go to the Hokage's office and demand repercussions and the like, then leave and continue his life. Or second, he could take his revenge against everyone, here and now, not only for the destruction of Uzushiogakure, but also for the suffering he had endured due to the villagers' hatred. Oh, how so badly he wanted to simply unleash hell on everyone. However, he had to remember that there were indeed innocents of all of that below him. It was because of this fact alone that he chose to go to the Hokage's office instead. Naruto stood up straight and turned towards his new group and said to them, "We are going to the Hokage's office. We will work our way from there." He then turned around and leapt to the next roof and on to the next, towards the Hokage Tower. Superman and the others soon followed. Kakashi Hitaki, the sixth and current Hokage, was sitting at his desk, reading his book with his feet propped up on the table. He had finally gotten all of the paperwork done and was relaxing. He felt a breeze from within, and looked up to see Naruto with, "Friends?" "Naruto." Kakashi set his book down on this desk, happy to see his former student. "Where in Kami's name have you been?" "Out," was Naruto's reply. "I can see that," Kakashi replied. "Who are your friends?" Superman stepped forward and said politely, "Good evening, sir. I am Superman, this is Wonder Woman, and this here is Robin." Wonder Woman nodded and said, "Pleased to meet you." Robin also bowed slightly and said to him, "Good evening, sir. I hope life bids you well." Melina stepped forward and said, "I am Melina, Kanam of Outworld." "And I am Jade, Princess of Outworld." Kakashi stood up and bowed slightly and said to them, "And I am Kakashi Hitaki, 6th Hokage of Konohagakure. It is a pleasure to meet you all, and I hope your stay here within my walls are pleasant." "Kakashi-sensei," Naruto began, "I'm just getting straight to the point. As you know, Uzu was left to rot by Konoha. I want compensation of some sort." "I thought you might," Kakashi said. "I sympathize with you on that front. I had recently discovered it myself. I have been working hard to put something together for you. I had it finished actually not too long ago. I had Captain Yamato, along with a few other of my Anbu, travel to Uzu and at least rebuild over there. I'm not sure how it was before, as we had no sort of information on the area at all save for where it was, so we just built a whole new village over there. I was sure that you would eventually return, although not so soon. Either way, the village is yours." That was when an incredibly loud explosion was heard outside. Kakashi looked outside and saw that about a few miles away from the village walls, a large cloud of fire and smoke was rising. Judging by the volume and vibrations of that explosion, despite on how far it was incredibly powerful. Kakashi snapped his fingers and 4 of his Anbu appeared. "Investigate that," he ordered. "I want a report within the hour." "Go." "Hi, Senpai," the 4 Anbu shouted. "I will go as well," Naruto said. "Hopefully I can blow off some steam." Kakashi nodded his head and said, "Be careful, Naruto." Naruto nodded in acknowledgement. Naruto turned to the others and said, "Come if you want. If not, stay here." Without another word, Naruto disappeared in a swirl of leaves. A woman with long, flowing red hair that reached her butt crawled out of the large crater in the ground that she had unintentionally created. She stood up shakily, her skin that had a tinge of orange in it shining in the fire. Her purple, yet extremely revealing, outfit was very pleasing to look at. She narrowed her green eyes at the thousands of humanoid robots that flew through the air to get to her. Her hands were bound by a very thick metal that were formed to look like cuffs of some sort. Every time she tried to use her powers, they would shock her, causing extreme pain. She had learned this the hard way too many times. The robots were blue and purple, and they eliminated their enemies by raising their hands. From their robotic palms, what seemed to be a tentacle of sorts would emerge, and that would penetrate their victim's skull, extracting their knowledge and killing them in the process. The woman had, not too long ago, witnessed her planet of Tamarin fall to the leader and creator of these robotic organisms. She was currently, to her knowledge, the only one left. She knew she wouldn't make it against this many adversaries. 100? Most likely. Several thousand? It just wasn't possible. Preparing for her last stand, she crouched low, awaiting the arrival of her thousands of opponents flying at her from the sky. She had been fleeing from them in space, but had been shot down by a very powerful energy blast, which had been what sent her crashing to Earth. Now here, looking up in the sky at the thousands of robots coming after her, she decided that she was done running. She was prepared to die, but not by running. That was when someone in a black cloak and hood with a sword on his back suddenly appeared and clapped his hands together, the clapping sound echoing throughout the open area. After a second or so, she heard him yell out with power and authority. Senpo, Mokuton, Shin Susenju. Sage art. Wood style. True several thousand hands. That was when she felt the actual ground below here begin to rumble and shake with power. Soon afterwards, both she and the man in black were being raised into the air, apparently on top of a wooden Buddha figure, with literally 1,000 hands in a fan-like shape behind it. She watched on as the several thousand robots came charging at them. She then heard the man in front of her yell a battle cry, and then watched on as the 1,000 hands ball into fists and launch themselves at all of the robots in the air. Looking up in the air, it was almost like a fireworks show. Large, wooden fists crushed robots and bits of metal and fire appeared in the air all around them. Within minutes, only a few of the robots were left. There were about 10 or so of the robots left, and they were still flying towards them. The man in black then withdrew his sword, and she had to admit that it looked like a beautiful blade, yet ready to kill at a moment's notice. She then witnessed the man disappear in a blue-like stream through the air and cleave the first robot in half. Then he flew to the next robot and decapitated it, then to the next one, then the next, then the next, then the next. Within a few seconds, the remaining robots were either beheaded or cut in half. He fell to the ground and landed on his feet, then sheathed his blade. He clapped his hands together and the large wooden statue disappeared. With her footing gone, the red-haired woman fell to the earth. The man in black caught her, then just ripped off the metal cuffs like they were just a weak toy. The woman quickly pulled down his mask and began making out with him. Even for a ninja, this had definitely been a surprise. After about a minute or so, the girl slowly released him and said, "Kissing is how my kind learns languages. I am Coriander, but I believe in your language I would be called Starfire." I'm Naruto," Naruto said, still a little stunned from the kiss. "Damn, it was good too. Naruto, thank you for helping me." Cradled to the grave, the Tamaranian, Starfire, was then escorted to the Konoha hospital shortly after her arrival and the defeat of the thousands of invasive robots, thanks to Naruto. She was currently in one of the hospital beds, having to explain what was going on and who she was, the whole 9 yards to the current Hokage, Kakashi. "What is your name?" Kakashi asked her. Naruto was also there. "I am Coriander," she started, "but in your language, I am called Starfire." "Again, thank you for saving me, friend Naruto." "Don't mention it," Naruto responded. "Starfire," Kakashi continued, "what exactly happened out there? What caused those things to attack?" Starfire had then grown much more concerned and her expression grew grave. "Friend Kakashi," Starfire began, "there is a very large, very grave threat coming to your world." "To our world?" Kakashi repeated, confused. Starfire nodded. "Yes, friend Kakashi. This same threat very recently destroyed my own world, Tamarin." "Who is this person?" Naruto asked. "His name is Brainiac," Starfire answered. "He destroys his enemies by sending in his armies of millions of the robots to extract as much knowledge as possible. Extracting from people, animals, databases, everything that contains knowledge. He then utilizes his battleship to destroy everything else that is not of use to him. I am the only Tamaranian left. I tried to escape, and did, thanks to friend Naruto. Do you know how much time we have until this Brainiac arrives here to our world? I believe you have the time of about 5 days or so until Brainiac come to Earth." Kakashi stood up and looked at Naruto and said to him, I understand you have some serious grievances against this village, Naruto. Honestly, so do I. However, for the sake of everyone, we are going to need your help. He then turned around and looked out the hospital window and said, and any other help that we can get. This probably won't be as extreme and dangerous as Kaguya's goal of the infinite Tsukuyomi, but it would be best to treat it as such. Kakashi turned back around and said to the two in the room with him, I'm going back to the office to prepare a statement for my shinobi forces, as well as the other villages. Naruto, keep me updated on Starfire's condition please. Naruto nodded his confirmation. Okay, see you later. Kakashi left the room, leaving Naruto and Starfire alone in the room. Friend Naruto, Starfire said, trying to get his attention. He looked at her and said in a gentle tone, yes Starfire? He couldn't tell what it was, but even though all of the stuff that he had been through in his life, both past and currently, had hardened his heart, for some unknown and confusing reason, this new woman who he had literally met only an hour or so ago, was able to break through that iron-hard shell around his heart and bring out the real Naruto. My people are very emotional, she explained. Our entire lives are lived while expressing whatever emotions we feel. Our power is run by our emotions. We do not hide it. We also wear more revealing clothing because the ultraviolet rays of the sun is our primary source of energy. I can tell that you were wondering all of this, which is why I am explaining it to you. What I am trying to say, friend Naruto. Starfire sat up in the bed and then rose to her knees and opened up her arms and said, I want to thank you for saving my life. I owe myself to you, and I am very grateful. Allow me to express my gratitude, friend Naruto. You already have, Starfire, Naruto said to her. And again, you're very welcome. Starfire shook her head a little and said to him, you are not understanding what I am telling you, friend Naruto. I wish to do more than simply speak the words. I wish to express my utmost gratitude physically. Do you mean? I wish to, what do you call it in your language, make love? I wish to make love to you, friend Naruto. That's great and all. Naruto began, once again shocked at this woman's brash and unexpected behavior, but, you don't even know me. And I don't even know you. It may seem weird and abnormal, coming from a guy, but I don't think I can do that right now Starfire. Why can't you do the making of love to me, friend Naruto? Starfire asked innocently, genuinely curious. Naruto looked away a little and said to her, I need to trust someone again. I need to know that I won't be betrayed again. But more than anything, he closed his eyes and said quietly, I can't lose anyone close to me again. I won't be able to handle it. Shit. I barely am able to handle it now. Judging by what you are saying now, Starfire continued, I take it that you have lost someone close to you. Naruto nodded slowly and said, yeah. A lot of people. On top of that, this place, Konoha, its leaders a long time ago were forced to make an impossible choice, and my ancestral home was destroyed as a result. I can't help but feel betrayed by that. There's always another option. But it happened. I have no family, very little friends, if they can even be called that, and my best friend is dead, along with several others. It's just, a little too much. Starfire got off of the hospital bed and walked towards him. Her green eyes were filled with sorrow and sadness. She raised one of her hands and stroked his masked face underneath the hood of his cloak. You hide a wounded heart, she said sympathetically. Naruto remained silent. I understand your pain, Starfire continued. But vengeance will not bring back those dear to you. Maybe not, Naruto agreed, but they can still be avenged. They didn't die. They were killed. Wrongfully, I might add. Their deaths served no purpose, their murders weren't an act of retribution or vengeance or anything else. They were killed in cold blood. SSSSHHHH. Starfire said soothingly. She pulled the black-cloaked ninja into a deep and loving embrace and said to him, you haven't had the chance to grieve yet, have you? What are you talking about? Naruto asked her. Remember what I told you just a minute ago? Starfire asked him. My people's lives revolved around raw emotion. Which means I have as well. I can tell when you are feeling pain. I can tell that right now, you are in deep sorrow. You mask the pain with coldness, lack of caring, and use the thought of vengeance to give that reason. She stood back, but was still very close. She took his hood and mask off, revealing a paler, grief-stricken face and near hollow-looking eyes. She grabbed his face gently yet firmly in between her soft and delicate hands. You must let it out, friend Naruto, she told him softly. Powerful green eyes bore into pale blue orbs that were storm-filled with pain and sorrow. She also noticed something else that she didn't see before. Loneliness. You also feel that you are all alone in this world. Starfire continued. Naruto was beginning to shake a little at this point. It felt like she was trying to break down his walls and let all of that pain that he had been holding back pour in. On top of all of that pain and sorrow that you feel deep inside of your soul, Starfire continued, her soft and gentle tone not helping him maintain his walls one bit. You feel that you have to bear it alone. That you are, all alone. She stroked one of her hands through his blonde locks while the other one stroked his cheek. I am here, friend Naruto, I'm here for you. She finished that sentence looking at him right in his eyes, with a small and gentle smile on her lips. Naruto jerked back quickly, breathing heavily. What are you trying to do to me? He almost yelled out. Stop. Starfire just stood there, that small smile still on her beautiful face. Her eyes were still filled with a loving, nurturing look that he had never witnessed before. Just stop it. He quickly donned his mask and his hood, then ran out of the hospital room and eventually the hospital itself like a bat out of hell. Starfire thought to herself, the process is painful, but he needs to grieve. His pain is tearing up inside. No matter what, I will be there for you, friend Naruto. Naruto ran as fast as he could towards one of the training ground 7 to be exact. He didn't know why, it just seemed to pull him towards that almost iconic place. He stumbled in front of the center tree stump of the 3 that were there. His body was trembling with emotion that he struggled to hold inside. He had tried so hard to not let weakness show, after all, only weak men showed emotion like that. Men dealt with their problems, they didn't cry about it. However, that loving, nurturing, I actually care about you type of attitude was really getting to him. He made it out of there just in time before his walls broke. He didn't know what to do with that. Whatever Starfire was doing to him, it was dangerous. Not for anyone else, but for himself. Like he had told her earlier, he could barely handle the pain now, and he was holding it in as best as he could. If he let it out, he didn't know what could happen. And he didn't want to find out either. Let it out, Kit, Kurama told him via mind link. Nothing good comes from withholding your own pain inside. It will only deteriorate and more so as time goes on. I feel your pain, Kit. Let it out. You don't know anything, Fox. Naruto yelled out loud. It hurts. I can't deal with this. I know. That's why you need to let out. Don't deal with it, Kit, let it out. I can't. Naruto fell to his knees, trembling uncontrollably. One hand grasped the top of the center tree stump and tried to pull himself up, but he didn't have the strength to do so. What are you doing here? Naruto turned around to see someone he really did not want to see right now. His old teammate, Sakura Haruno. He did his best to control himself from shaking so much, but only succeeded slightly. Sakura noticed this and said to him, are you crying? No. Oh my god, you are crying? Sakura exclaimed. What the hell are you crying for? I lost Sasuke-kun, not you. Sakura? Naruto said through clenched teeth. Leave, now. Or what? Sakura said, putting a fist on her hip. You gonna hit me? You had the biggest crush on me not too long ago, and you probably still do. You won't do anything, you're still so weak. You're a demon, Naruto. Face it, you're always going to be alone and worthless. Cue music. 5-finger death punch, cradle to the grave. Naruto slowly stood up and removed his hood and mask. He then turned to face her. Sakura was shocked as his appearance right now. He was smiling ferally, his canines elongated and extremely sharp, just waiting to tear flesh from bone. His whisker marks were now more prominent than they ever have been before. But what scared her more than anything were his eyes. They were completely red, no pupil, just blood red. Even though she couldn't clearly see it, she knew that he was looking right at her. Like a predator on the hunt. And was about to make the kill. You're right, he told her. I've been called a monster, called a demon, called a fake. I'm not an Edo, not an angel, not a saint. He removed his glove, and elongated, curved, razor-sharp claws appeared on his good hand and the bandaged one as well. I walk alone, I always have, I'm not ashamed. He then crouched low like a tiger ready to pounce and said to her, I'm a living nightmare, from the cradle to the grave. Author's note. The prior lyrics belong to FFDP, not me. He shot forward like a bullet and slashed across her stomach. The force of the blow knocked her back quite a ways away. Sakura, after she was done rolling on the ground, winced painfully as she did her best to heal the deep gash across her belly. She immediately regretted saying that to her once former teammate. She looked up in horror as she saw him jump in the air and descend towards her. One clawed hand reared back and ready to tear her apart. R R R R R R A R R R R R R R R G G G H H H. She quickly stood up and jumped back, and just in the nick of time. He landed and his clawed hand struck the dirt, rocks and grass flying everywhere. He eyed her through all of the falling debris and launched himself at her once again. It was everything that she could do to just barely evade the deadly attacks that he was launching at her. That was when she realized it. He was actually trying to kill her. The only reason she was alive still was because he was in a hot fury and not focusing, and she knew it. If he was able to control himself, she'd be dead already. However, in the middle of her thinking, she misstepped and this cost her dearly. She fell back a little. Stumbling, she struggled to catch her footing. Naruto, in his rage and bloodlust, lurched forward and launched one of his claws in an upwards arch. Sakura's arm flew off, separated from her body. Sakura fell to the ground, crying hysterically, clutching her bloody stump, watching as blood spewed from the stump on her shoulder. Naruto landed right above her, his furious countenance inches from hers. My heart is frozen. My soul's been broken. The whole world's on my motherfucking shoulders and I can't seem to control it. I can't contain it, and I just don't give a shit. You need to feel the way that I feel or you'll never fucking know it. A.N. Again, lyrics belong to FFDP, Burn MF. He grabbed her by her pink hair and lifted her up and yelled in her face, "Burn motherfucker." He performed a couple of one-handed hand signs and held out his hand as a ball of intense fire formed. He then thrust it forward onto Sakura's torso. A large blast was heard as she was blasted backwards once again, blood flying through the air from her bleeding stump. The second Sakura landed, she put out the fire that was on her torso as fast as she could with her one good hand. After that was done, she quickly activated her regeneration ability that she had learned from Tsunade. What was that technique called again? Her arm wasn't there, but all of her bleeding wounds were healed. She was no longer bleeding, but she had lost a lot of blood. She stood up shakily and watched as the Naruto she knew was no longer there. It really was a demon. He was now covered in fire. A slow burning, smoldering, just waiting to attack anything type of fire. It was really frightening to her. "Buorn," Naruto said under his breath. Sakura retrieved a kunai and threw at him, and he simply knocked it out of the air with his bare hand as if it were an annoying little toy and not a deadly weapon. That was when Kakashi, Starfire, and Tsunade appeared in between them. Kakashi and Tsunade were shocked to say the least at the Jinchuriki's appearance. Starfire ran up to him and hugged him tightly. Even though he was on fire, Starfire didn't get hurt. She was talking to him quietly, too quiet for anyone else to hear. Tsunade immediately went to Sakura and laid her down. "Kakashi, get me her arm over there." A few minutes later, Sakura was weak, but her arm was reattached and she was healed completely. "What the hell happened?" Kakashi asked heatedly. He and Tsunade looked back to see that Starfire was cradling a silently crying Naruto in her arms. Knowing what happened a little while ago, Kakashi deduced, Sakura probably made him snap at a vulnerable point. "This is the result." "Damn it," Tsunade said. "Let's get them to the hospital." Kakashi nodded. Meanwhile, Starfire was stroking Naruto's cheek softly while reassuring him that he wasn't alone. "I'm here, friend Naruto," she kept saying to him. "I'm here." Soon, Naruto succumbed to the exhaustion caused primarily from the emotional struggle. He didn't realize it just yet, but maybe, just maybe, he could let someone in his heart again.
That's all for now. If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comments.